We've been through, it's a really intense time in the country. I've heard from our members that some are feeling afraid for their lives. I've heard from our members that they're afraid for our democracy and our country and fearful of a civil war breaking out. I think people are feeling uncertain of what to do, of what they can do, of how to respond to the changes that are happening so quickly. And so I really want them to hear from you about the choices you made over just this last week and over this weekend. What were you asked to do? How did you respond? What did you choose to do? Why did you say yes? Why did you say no?
I knew this weekend was an important weekend. I didn't really realize what Tulsa was doing or had in store or planned to do. But I wanted to do something, and then I heard on Friday that there was going to be a protest march. And just as I had learned that, because I am one of the parish nurses at All Souls and be at the church to help give care and comfort to the marchers. He said he did not expect any violence or rioting, but that you never know. These things have a life of their own. And I said yes right away. And when you asked me why I said yes, I thought, why? It is a good question, because I decided not to march myself because I'm over 65. I have some health issues, but I still want to do my part. And I think most of us need someone to give us direction. We have motivation, but we don't know what to do with it. We all have capabilities, but we don't know how to lend these capabilities and put them in the direction that we need to go in. And I felt really in retrospect that when he asked me to do that, those three things came together for me. I have motivation, I don't know what to do, I have some skills, I didn't have a direction. And he brought it together. And I said yes. And so I tried to put together a team of nurses and doctors and others along with Nolan to be at the church to give care and comfort. And I think that we were very successful. By Friday evening, I had a team that said yes, yes. This team was 3 doctors, and I think 6 nurses and about 4 husbands. And we were all so happy to be there to support people, watching them come and go and come and go. It's pretty powerful. We're still all really connected. The group is. We're still texting each other. We're making plans for the future. Nobody's really said, okay, we want you to do this, but we feel it's a movement. Every one of us on the team feels it's a movement. It's not a moment. It can't be a moment. It can't. A moment's going to do nothing. It has to be a movement, and we have to feel a part of it. And one thing we did learn is that we could take lots of different people on our team. You don't need to be a nurse or a doctor. We would like anybody. We have to have runners to go get water, to deliver food. We need all kinds of different people with lots of skills, and we have lots of ideas on how to make it work for our future.
Thank you, Lynne. Do one of the two of you want to jump in?
I would love to kind of piggyback off what Lynne said, because she mentioned how Marlon called her on Friday, and we have a month or a daily staff meeting and on Friday, potential for a protest on Brookside. And my immediate thought was, wow, it's different having a movement like that out north, but to have that on Brookside, my initial thoughts, especially with everything that's going on in the world, was destruction. And, at the same time, I'm taking a webinar about the 1921 race massacre. So I wanted to be a part of it, but I didn't feel safe knowing that it was going to be on Brookside. So I suggested that I should stay and help protect the building with Nolan. And I told him that I would be there at 10 o'clock in the morning, thinking that it was just going to be he and I, and we would figure out what it was. However, when I pulled up at 10 o'clock in the morning, the parking lot was full. And as I walked up to the building, Lynn, you and your team was already there on site. There was already, Emerson Hall had beds set up, and there was security, and there was a buzz in the air, and excitement in the air. And I was like, yeah, let's do this. And then one of the most powerful things, if you remember, Lynn, is that right before the march started, everyone went out into the parking lot. We had a prayer, and then instructions, specific instructions. This was so well organized. Specific instructions were given. I felt good about the church being protected, and there were people in place in case anything happened. And my initial thought was, I need to do something else. So maybe we should, like, I can get the van, I'll get the keys to the van, I'll load the van up with water, and we'll load up granola bars, and let's go help these people. So I took the back roads down to the Walmart Express. This is an interesting story. As I got to Walmart Express, the crowd had just gotten to where I was, right there at 51st and Peoria. Literally, the crowd was marching right in front of me. It was powerful, moving stuff. And so as Marlon and Jamie run out into the crowd, I'm kind of moved. And so I was like, I'm going to watch this. And just kind of stood there and watched them march up that hill, up that grassy knoll, if you will. And then they got on the highway, and there was a semi truck that was going east about this time. And he locked up his brakes, and a big cloud of smoke went up in the air. And I'm just standing there by myself, just watching, taking all this in. And at that moment, I looked to my right, and there was a Caucasian woman, if you will. And she was about 4 feet away from me, and we're both taking this in. And we both shared a moment. We felt like we were watching history, and we both shared a tear, man. It was a powerful, powerful moment.
It's really interesting to hear you speaking and describing it. And I feel like we're doing some oral history here, Carlos, even with this recording. It's really interesting because kind of probably around Walmart, I started running up towards the front and talking to a few people saying, are we going to the highway? It seems like we're heading to the highway. Are we going to? And nobody knew. So there was this feeling of like, kind of like we were figuring it out as we were going. I'm curious if you can say any more about the feeling of not being safe, and then how that shifted to, going down to Peoria.
I'll tell you, Barbara, I'll tell you exactly what it was. My initial fear was just fear as being a Black male, right? But honestly, things shifted when I pulled up to All Souls on Saturday morning, and I saw all the cars. Emerson Hall had people of all nationalities in there making signs. Lynn had her team there, and there was just this energy. There was security there. And instead of being fearful, I felt safe.
Carlos, tell us what you're thinking.
It's interesting because I said no. I'm more of an introvert. I don't really participate in a lot of those kinds of things. And I didn't feel safe either, to be quite frank. I've been harassed by police all my life, and so I was like, you know what? I am not white. I'm not going to put myself out there. I'm too afraid. I'm too nervous. And I felt like just staying home and watching what was going on Twitter and commenting and just sort of reflecting on my own and just keeping myself safe and healthy was the best thing for me to do. When I heard from Jennifer that Shannon had posted on Facebook that she was lying down in the highway and that she wouldn't get up until the mayor responded. To me, that was a very symbolic act in my mind for two reasons. The march at Selma, the Selma Pettus Bridge, and the symbolism of that, and the symbolism of putting their bodies in front of the police to make a statement. Symbolism that I can think of is that urban renewal, a federal highway program. My father had a paper route in a largely Hispanic neighborhood that is now Highway 280. Greenwood was rebuilt in 1922. The business district was thriving as of 1926. Greenwood was a flourishing neighborhood all the way up until urban renewal. And so to stand on a highway and protest this specific issue was very, very symbolic. And I think specifically for our city, because it was the destruction of the highway that really destroyed Greenwood. There's a quote by Theodore Roosevelt that sort of keeps me going all the time. And I have it tattooed on my wrist and you can't read it. But what it says is, we are the government. Government is us, you and I. And that was a speech that Roosevelt gave in September of 1902. And so I think that if we can remind ourselves that what our founding fathers gave us, something very unique in the world, a government that is for the people, by the people, which is Lincoln's phrase that he coined. It is unique in the world, and we need to recognize that, and we need to keep that idea moving forward. We're not there yet. I'm not afraid for our democracy. I think that what our founding fathers created 244 years ago is just as strong today as it ever was. I think you have to find the groups and the people and the places that are holding that up and continuing to move it forward. And that's the space that I'm working in.
I love that. I love hearing that. Thank you so much. Those words, a government for the people, by the people, and of the people, was actually taken from a Unitarian minister.
That is correct.
So, and I wanted to add to that, your words are so powerful, and we are the government. And another quote from Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, who walked with Martin Luther King, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King in the 60s, really spoke about those marches, kind of the way you were speaking, Corey, as sacred, holy, powerful events. And he said that we have to do whatever we can and everything we can to combat despair. That's our spiritual responsibility. That's the spiritual battle, and that's up to each one of us. What would each of you say to this idea that if I care about racial justice, I also care about environmental justice? If I care about the climate crisis, I also care about education. If I care about healthcare, I also care about racial justice.
I felt very frustrated at the end of my career that I wasn't able to make the changes that I had hoped to make. But they all, of course, they intersect. You know, someone suffering right down the street or around the corner or 2 blocks up the road, it impacts everyone, even if they think it doesn't. It does. Of course, the environment, it's always worse in poorer neighborhoods. I mean, that's always where it is. That's where the highways are and the garbage dumps, and that's where the oil refineries let their waste out. That's always the way it is, everywhere, and that can't be. So, and then of course I've always fought for women's rights as well. It's all intersecting. I really felt this weekend like maybe a movement is starting, can get everybody to identify their capabilities, to have someone acknowledge their capabilities, and to help them find the direction for the movement as a whole, that maybe finally we can really make more headway. When I study history, it seems like there's periods of great change and then stagnation and then go backwards, and then great change and then stagnation and then go backwards. And I want to be in the momentum right now.
Thank you, Lynn. Corey, you want to jump in?
I was deeply moved by the events that happened on Saturday. Again, I was just, I knew I needed to do something. I didn't know what. But having the community of All Souls, I'd be lying if I didn't say that I wanted that All Souls van to be, I wanted people to know that All Souls was out there in the streets doing good stuff. We care about this community and we care about this world, and this is what we're all about.
I'm so glad you said that, because what it reminded me of, most religious leaders say that you need to live is be out there and help people. If there's suffering, ease suffering. If there's hungry, feed the hungry. Whatever people need, that's what you need to do, is give it to them. And I looked and looked and looked for something like that in Tulsa, and I just wasn't finding it until I found All Souls. I was part of this board and that group and that nonprofit and this thing over here and that thing over there, and I could try to be on the board of an education nonprofit in Hunger Free Oklahoma, and a criminal justice group, and healthcare and women's rights and LGBTQ and the environment and housing and transportation and urban renewal, and but what I realized that I had to do was find my own center and match that with what I knew I could do and what my skills and talents, where my skills and talents lie. I can't do everything, but I can do my thing and know that there are other people who might want to also help me do my thing. Yeah.
That's exactly the type of teamwork that called me to spring into action. It was a total team effort. All of us pitched in to make this a beautiful, beautiful moment that I will remember for the rest of my life.
Is there something you haven't said that you want to say? I always like to make space for that at the end. And if I'm asking the wrong question, answer the right.
If people are listening to this and they stayed home, I want them to feel good about that as well. It's okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely.
We were all being held in a different way, and we're all holding each other in a different way, and it's okay.
Yeah. That actually brings to mind a conversation and again on Twitter, an attorney at a well-respected law firm here in Tulsa, and she was asking, where's all this going? There's protests, and I don't know what's happening, and so I linked her to Pastor Turner's statement that was published in the news. So I linked her to that article, and then I linked her to G.T. Bynum's announcement that he made where he was ending live PD. We were having this conversation over Twitter, and she said, who do I need to contact? What do I need to do? And I said, well, here's G.T. Bynum's Twitter account. Here's the chief of police Twitter account. Here's the people that you need to talk to. And quite frankly, you need to talk to them, because you're a white attorney at a well-respected law firm in Tulsa. I'm a Latino church volunteer. So this is your fight, not mine. There are attorneys, there are former mayors, there are city councilors, there are people in places of power, and they need to use that power right now. This is a place and a time to use that power.
Yes, this is your fight too. Well, I'm very grateful. I feel grateful, inspired, moved, as I knew I would be.